And we're back. All flash, no substance. All right, so Marvel recently dropped a trailer for the Secret Invasion TV show for going to be streaming on Disney Plus. Now, it got me thinking that, man, Marvel's really put more of an effort into doing TV series instead of doing a whole bunch of MCU movies. And it made me think we've never really given credit to a lot of Marvel's TV series. And they've done TV series, obviously, on Disney Plus, but back to Netflix, back to FX, back to ABC, if you really think about it. And all of those are roughly part of the MCU, especially with the multiverse, depending on how you want to look at it. But we've never give full credit to the great work that they've done in it. Now, they do have a lot of other shows on the horizon that are going to be coming out, so we may have to touch on this top 5 again later on, but they're all spaced out for the next few years, so we may not do another redo of this top 5 for probably the next 5 years or so if I'm still doing YouTube. But today's top 5 is going to be the top 5 Marvel TV series. Like I said, now they have done TV series across multi different channels and networks, so I'm not going to limit it just to Disney Plus. I'm going to reach out to different other channels as well, but it will be my favorite of the 5. Now, obviously, they had to at least run one season for me, and I would like it as if they were having thoughts of continuing the series going forward, as opposed to just being a one and done season. All right. So, with that being said, number 5. Number 5, I actually went with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually ran for about 7 seasons, and probably 4 of them were good. Now, it started off a little bit rough because it was trying to actually be a part of the MCU, but never really not really being referenced in the MCU, but them referencing the things that went on in the MCU. But I think they had great acting. I think they got to introduce a lot of smaller characters that weren't really being served by the MCU movies. I mean, now they're kind of catching every small character in all these different IPs they have out for Marvel. But this one kind of started that, and it did one of the things where it was a spinoff of Avengers, with having Phil Coulson survive him dying in Avengers, if you haven't seen Avengers. And leading the S.H.I.E.L.D. team. I thought it was a good concept. I thought they were going to do some certain things with certain characters, and then it spun off into its own thing within Humans, which we may touch on or maybe not later on. But I think it did a good job for what it did for the first 4 seasons. 5, 6, and 7 kind of got a little bit out there because they were trying to do their own thing, but it would still be something celebrating, which is at my number 5. So Number 4, I actually went with Netflix Punisher. So, Netflix Punisher got 2 seasons, and I believe this was probably, for me, one of the more truthful translations of who the Punisher really is. You know, we had one with Thomas Jane, where I love that movie, and I thought maybe he should have got a sequel, but wasn't probably the most accurate Punisher. And I know we had Punisher Warzone, and then I know we had the Dolph Lundgren Punisher, which probably looked more like the comic Punisher when you look at him, but they weren't faithful translations. And I think this one was probably the most faithful one, because it definitely showed the violence that the Punisher had, and like his nonstop meaning, like, hey, you know, I'm gonna say vengeance must be served. It sounds like Batman, but him not letting criminals get away. And it's like, if there's criminals out there, they must be punished. So I do like this. I can't wait to see what they do with him in the proper MCU on Disney Plus, because there has been talks that he's going to get the show continue. But the 2 seasons that he got on there, which is why I put it on here, the 2 seasons that he got on there, in the prospect of him continuing to Disney Plus, especially with Daredevil moving on there as well, I can't wait to see what they do with the property. All right, so that's going to bring me to number 3. Number 3, I went with WandaVision. Now, WandaVision only got 1 season, and you guys may be saying, well, it's like, hey, there's no real continuation of WandaVision because, hey, Scarlet Witch died and the Multiverse of Madness. I mean, did she? I mean, it led you to believe that she possibly lived, but her show will be spun off into the Agatha's spinoff, and then Vision's Quest spinoff, and I assume that would either tie her in those popping up into those shows, or her getting that 2nd season later on. So I do feel like it will continue, but I want to talk about the show itself. The show itself was a great callback to sitcom television of the ages, going through different genres from a black and white sitcom to getting into the 60s with more of a Brady Bunch, getting into 60s and 70s with more of a Brady Bunch, more of the 80s with like a Full House, in the 90s with a Malcolm in the Middle type aspect, but each time kind of going through her psychic break that she's going through, and referencing maybe the House of M and Wanda with her children. It had so many comic book elements in it, all kind of play out. I think we all were a little bit disappointed with when we thought we were guessing what was going to go on the show and what characters were going to appear. And when we got our Quicksilver reference, we were a little let down. But the show itself, in a whole, with her being so broken that she was manipulating people and controlling them with her mind because she is such a powerful figure in Marvel, was really, really great to see. So I can't wait to see when they do more with her character. And if you see Multiverse of Madness, it's like, oh, that was amazing. I can't see when they bring her back into proper MCU in another season of WandaVision. All right. So that's going to bring me to my, excuse me, my number 2. A little bit of allergies, guys. Number 2 is actually Loki. So Loki was a great way to fix a plot hole that they created for themselves, probably because they knew that they were going to do it, but also to actually open us up as watchers to what a multiverse would look like. Now, Marvel has been playing kind of back and forth between timelines and actual different universes, so I'm thinking that they kind of mean the same. And like I said, so Loki kind of opened us up to that and introduced us to Kang. I do like them showing more of an arc of Loki in this television show, from him just being the always bad guy to him really understanding his place in the universe and in just history, or in his character's history, and trying to break that mold and be himself and do what he truly wants to do. So Loki was such a welcome surprise. I really didn't think it was going to be much more than him just being evil through time and through different timelines. This show actually does a great way and introduces multiple versions. So we got to see more of a comic book accurate Loki with the big huge horns and the curves, with the old Loki and the kid Loki and the boastful Loki, so an alligator Loki and a female Loki. So I mean, this job, I can't wait for season 2. I unfortunately have not seen I have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, so I'm hoping that either I'm gonna watch that pretty soon or the season 2 doesn't drop before I get around to seeing that. But either way, so that finally is gonna bring me to my number 1. And if you haven't guessed it by now, because I kind of mentioned it earlier, my number 1 is going to be Daredevil. I think Netflix did an amazing job with Charlie Cox as Daredevil. He did first and foremost, the fight scenes in this show were perfect, spot on. It's exactly what you expect out of Daredevil, for you see him to see him fight with using his batons, seeing the different changes in his suit, having him do that great hallway scene where he stole from Raid and Raid stole from Old Boy. But I think they did everything they could by even keeping it more dramatic and keeping it more serious. Netflix was really great with doing that, but keeping his character show, this particular show series, because it was not only a vigilante show, but it was also a legal procedural. You kind of have to work both of those, but you needed to kind of keep it more even keel. Sorry, She-Hulk. You had an opportunity to do it with a funny element, and it didn't quite go anywhere, which is why you're not in my top 5. But this job did a great thing. The only thing I say Charlie Cox didn't do well in this is that he didn't master the blind stare, and it bugged me when he would stare people directly. He would stare directly at people when they were talking, like he could see it, or if his eyes would track something. It was like, I know the sound and the echolocation, and maybe his eyes could match the echolocation, but that's not how I see it. Look, Ben Affleck did it right, and Richard Pryor did it right when he was in Hear No Evil, See No Evil. Everybody should do it that correct way. All right. So that brings me to my honorable mentions. My honorable mentions, I actually went with What If. It is getting a season 2. But it was a great way to kind of realize the comic. The comic was about like, hey, let's take a weird scenario that's like a proper point in a definitive thing that happened in the Marvel universe, and we'll change it and say, what if this happens, and see the different ways it would branch out. I love What If in the comic books, and I love what they gave us in animation, because it gave you more options to do more things on screen. All right. So other place I had on here, I had Luke Cage. So once again, back to Netflix. Excuse me. Once again, back to Netflix. Luke Cage is an underrated series. One, black superhero, you don't get much of that, but seeing how he was a pillar of Harlem and how he meant so much to it. It was almost like watching Black Panther, but Black Panther in a t-shirt. Black Panther in a t-shirt in Harlem. But I love what they did with the different characters. I love what they did with Mahershala Ali as the original villain. I thought they killed him too soon in it. I thought he should have made the whole season. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Luke Cage. But I love what they did even in season 2 when they introduced I can't remember the other guy's name in season 2, when they introduced his character. I thought they did such wonderful things in this show, and I was very, very sad when Netflix eventually canceled it. I hope Luke Cage actually does transition over to MCU proper and appears in something else, like I said, because Daredevil was getting a new season. Maybe he could pop up in that along with Punisher. We'll see how that works out. There was also, and I can't remember the name of it right now, there was a show that was on FX about Professor Xavier's son. God bless, I cannot remember it, but he's kind of like schizophrenic, and he has as much psychic powers and abilities as Professor Xavier. I saw the first season, and I don't know why I can't remember the name of it right now. And if you ever watched this channel, I forget names all the time. I'll probably put it up. But this show was kind of like, I love shows that keep you guessing and kind of like the reality bending. I really enjoy that. So that will be, once I put the name up, that will be my last honorable mention. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me what your top 5 Marvel TV series are in the comments below. You can make some of mine. You can make some, because there was a bunch of other ones I didn't include on here. Like there's like Cloak and Dagger. There was well, they were gonna do the they didn't do the Most Wanted one. But anyway, so put your comments in, put your thoughts in the comments below. Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble like that. And if this is the first time you're in the channel, make sure you subscribe, as well as click the notification button so that way you're aware of all the other top 5s that we do on the channel. Also too, if you want to help the channel out, make sure you can go and buy a t-shirt from the links below. We're on Teespring and on Amazon, so make sure you go and visit us there. That's all I got for you guys today. Take care.
Real quick, if you're still here, because we do these into the video little blooper things. If you're still here, look down. There's a link here for Patreon. If you guys like the show, please give us money. We'll take a penny. We'll take a nickel. We'll take a dime. We'll take $1. We have some stuff on there that we're giving away on Patreon if you do contribute, because trust me, we need help. We want to buy new equipment, and we need an editor. Somebody who doesn't have to stay up in the middle of the night. Or they don't have to stay up in the middle, but I won't have to do it. So please, down patreon.com/thegoods. It's in the link. Please do it. We appreciate it. Top